It's important to strive to be a vessel of positive energy and emanate light instead of darkness.
People who are more sensitive to physical pain have been found to be more sensitive to social pain. It's what songwriters have been saying for years, and now scientists agree. Love really does hurt. But what the ballads don't tell us is that a simple dose of Tylenol could help ease the pain of a broken heart. The rather prosaic cure emerged in a study by neuroscientists that found that emotional pain is processed in the same exact area of the brain as physical pain. The study found those who took 1,000 milligrams or 2 Tylenol showed a significant reduction in hurt feelings. Now, you know the phrase, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me?
Right.
That's a lie. Complete lie. Complete lie. They even did a computer game that was devised to make some people feel rejected by their peers. And what did they find out? They found out that emotional pain of rejection was actually processed in the same area of the brain as regular pain. And so it brought to my mind anyway, the whole issue of bullying in our society. You see it at work as an adult. You see it when you're a kid. Everybody knows that kid that was bullied in school. Well, with as many mean people there are in the United States, and there's a lot of them, it's no wonder we're the top users of painkillers around the world.
Well, we live in a society to where we make ourselves feel better, and we're trained to make ourselves feel better by making other people feel bad. And as we move through this consciousness shift, my personal experience, and I'm sure many of you will agree, when you hear somebody say, F you, you can feel it. When somebody says, I love you, you can feel that too. It's all part of the ascension. And I'm just as guilty of it as everybody else. A caller called in and was talking about how he recently started eating dog. And my first instinct was to jump out at him, react from an emotion, and attack almost like a mother bear protecting her cubs from a predator. I mean, I have dogs. A lot of people have dogs. I see them as my kids.
A lot of people do.
Right. They're not meat. They're children. They have the mentality of a 3-year-old. They have the consciousness of a 3-year-old. And I think that's the separation that we need to make, is consciousness. What kind of consciousness do these animals have? And that's why we even have laws enacted here in the United States which make a distinction between livestock and domesticated animals. We shouldn't eat the domesticated animals, in my opinion. But then people brought up the idea of culture. And I started doing some research, and I found out that in South Korea, there's a very, very small sect of people that actually eat dog meat.
No more than 10%.
No more than 10%, and it's all the older generations. Dog meat, in my opinion, has always been something that people use in a time of famine, not something that people go out and readily seek. I mean, this is man's best friend. They're responsible for our evolution. If it wasn't for them hunting with us, keeping us warm, alerting us to predators, we wouldn't be here where we are, spiritually evolved and consciously evolved. And therefore, I think it's our responsibility to care for these creatures. But you take something like a cow or lamb, and I think that their consciousness level is a bit lower. They still feel fear, they still feel pain, and I think it's a detriment to make an animal fear through human hands. And I saw some of these meat markets, and they purposely torture the animal for 10 or 15 minutes because they think it makes the meat better. And some of these animals that were in these cages still had their collars on them, denoting that they were kept there they were taken from somebody's home. They were somebody's pets at one point in time. And this made me sick. Now, the flip side of that is you can go to the other side of town, in the exact same town, and find a restaurant where most of the younger people take their animals, and the restaurant actually caters to the dogs instead of catering dog. And they allow the dogs to sit at the table with their people. And basically, it's a dog-themed restaurant where the dogs get to pick whatever they want to eat. They'll bring them out a whole tray of food, and they eat whatever they want. And they live in harmony. So this idea that it's a cultural thing, I think is a little bit flawed. But we also have cultures that are cannibals. We have cultures that believe in sex with children. We have cultures that believe in mutilating women when they're 12 years old to keep them from being promiscuous. So when does it come a point to where we draw the line and say, well, it's not about culture anymore. It's about standing up for those who can't speak out. And that's what we need to start seeing the animals as our children. And some of them are here to provide sustenance and nourishment to us. And the Native Americans knew this. And when they would kill, they would do so very painlessly as possible, as quickly as possible, and they would thank the spirit for giving its life force to sustain us. These people in these meat markets were actually killing the dogs in front of them and then selling their meat 5 or 6 feet away. It was one of the most horrific things that I've ever seen in my life.
It doesn't make the meat better. It might make the meat taste better, but as far as the hormones and all of the endorphins and all of these hormones that the animal is releasing while they're scared, an autistic woman named Temple Grandin actually told people, nature's cruel, but we don't have to be. Nature supplies us with enough cruelty on its own. We don't have to go out of our way to make it even more cruel for them, because life is cruel. For if you're a fish and you just happen to be swimming up the wrong stream, you know, you're going to get eaten by a bear. That's cruel. But you know what? We're human beings, and we have the ability to say, you know what? I don't want to cause this creature any more pain or fear than is necessary to gain sustenance out of it.
Exactly. That's what separates us from the animals. One other disturbing thing that I saw was that the same people who were the dog farmers and in the same little sect in the culture were also having competitions on serving live animals and the way that they would serve it. And one of the judges walked by during the chef competition and said, this would be a winner if the fish's mouth was still moving. Its gills were moving, but the fish's mouth wasn't moving, so it wasn't a winner. They were, serving live octopus, and the octopus was trying to crawl off of the plate, and they were dumping sauce and things like that on top of it. I mean, what separates us from the quote-unquote elite? I started to think about that movie Hostel, where that scumbag was basically eating somebody's foot alive. I mean, that was one of his dark fantasies that he wanted to do, was eat somebody alive. And the scene was one of the most disgusting things. There was classical music in the background. The guy was wearing a really nice shirt and really nice dining table, and the guy's sitting there screaming while this guy's eating him alive. This is what the elite do. The elite love snuff films. They love to torture. They love to delve in that negative energy and make others suffer. That's how they get off, by making others suffer. And so, if we do the same thing to the animals, well, what separates us from them? Aren't we supposed to be moving up? Isn't that the way to beat them, is to rise above the New World Order, not move back to a consciousness that's lower than the New World Order?
But that's what they want. They want you to debase yourself in a way that they can say, see, you're no better than I am. See, you deserve to die just as much as I do. You're just as bad of a person as I am.
Well, I think you're right on the money with that. I think that's what they do, is they look and see people doing these things and go, well, these people deserve it. I mean, look at what they're doing. Look at what they're doing to their planet. Look what they're doing to their animals. I mean, look what they're doing to their children. They beat their children. They drug their children. They fall for all the traps that we put up in front of them. So they deserve everything they get. And everybody in this movement who's understood this information knows the idea that the elite put out all of their plans beforehand. And then those who are too dumb to see the signs, see the symbolism, understand what's going on, the elite start to feel like they get whatever they deserve. So why would it not apply to things like the way we treat each other, the way we treat nature? The only way to overcome is to go back to our roots and live in harmony with the earth. But they've systematically exterminated the shaman, the American Indians, everybody who had this knowledge of living in harmony with their surroundings and as one with their environment. They've exterminated them and replaced it with this selfish, greed, wasteful, you've got to get one up on the other person. I mean, that's what business is about. You're more revered in business if you're a psychopath and you can get one in on the other person rather than... I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. I was looking at something.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Distracted you.
But if you can get one up on the other person, and then the mentality of these CEOs and the people who are cutthroat and strive to get to the top is, well, I'm smarter than them, so I'm going to progress more in life. There's more than enough to go around for everybody. There's more than enough cattle being slaughtered right now and chickens being slaughtered in some of the most horrific ways too, that we don't have to go out and hunt. We don't have to go out and eat dog or eat, I mean, there's plenty of meat. Exactly. What we should be doing instead is rallying against the people who are slaughtering these animals in these horrific ways and keeping them in the horrific ways. Exactly. Yeah. And try to make more of a pure food for us and a better life for these animals who are giving their life force to sustain us. That's a gift. That's the most ultimate gift that these animals are giving us, is the ability to be able to live and move forward. I think what it comes down to also is the ability to consent. Because you can take two human boxers, put them together, they're consenting to fighting each other. Pit bulls and canine boxers do not. No. They can't do that. They can't consent. Now, I don't want to point the finger at just other cultures, because we're just as guilty of this too. The rodeos, for instance. These horses can't consent to being ridden wildly the way they do. I mean, along with some of the research that I was doing, I found in our own backyard horses that are dying horrific deaths at these rodeos because of the way that they're treated.
And bulls.
Bull riding as well. Bulls don't consent to having their testicles tied up with a rope and then somebody sitting on top of them and holding on to that rope. When as they buck, it pulls the rope even tighter. That's what makes the bull go crazier and crazier, because his testicles are being smashed.
Yeah.
They don't consent to that.
That's like torture.
Exactly.
There's no reason for it.
And we see it in many cultures, bullfighting as well. I mean, what is the point of putting on a big show when you're going to kill a bull? It makes no sense whatsoever. If you're going to eat the bull, kill it in a humane manner. But this whole sport of killing is something that's pretty unique to humans. Mm-hmm. And that makes me wonder, where did we come from, and where did this horrific need for war and death and sport and killing for sport come from? Is it alien DNA that's been injected into us? Is it something that we've been groomed into for the last 10,000 years, however long we've been on this planet? Where did this come from is the big question. But it's really sickening. But this is all part of that ascension process. As we start to ascend, we start to empathize more and more with the things around us, the animals, the torture that's going on, and especially the people around us.